These are the standards. And the development of these standards is anchored on these legal provisions. We have the Kenya National Qualifications Framework Act number 22 of 2014, and various sections and even the regulations that mandates the authority to develop a system for assessing national qualifications in Kenya. So as said earlier, these national qualifications, we are referring to qualifications attained at all levels of learning and training, from the Kenya National Qualifications Framework Level 1, which is at the basic level, to Kenya National Qualifications Framework Level 10, the highest that you're talking about, the doctoral or the PhD level. So the system that KNQA is developing is cutting across from level 1, that is basic, to the tertiary TVET, to all up to level 10. Within the same framework, the Act also gives the KNQA mandate to maintain a national database of national qualifications that are acquired across all the levels of education. So this database we envisage to have will contain a record details of all qualifications awarded in the country, all the qualifiers, all the qualification awarding institutions, and even the assessment methods and types that were used, and the certification. So we are talking of a one-stop database that contains all qualifications awarded in the country. And thirdly, among the key functions of KNQA is to build confidence in a national qualification system. And how do we build confidence? By developing such standards like the ones that we are just about to validate today, which will guide and ensure that the national qualifications awarding system is meeting the national requirements and even international requirements of how our qualification should look like. The other function is to coordinate and supervise the development of policies and national qualifications, where development of policies and standards to do with assessment is one of the areas we coordinate as an authority, and we are coordinating right away from basic to the university, just to emphasize. And lastly, one of the key provisions of the KNQF Act, which provided for us to develop these standards, is that we have a function of advising and supporting any person, body, or institution which is responsible for awarding national qualifications. And therefore here we are talking about any actor, all the actors, all the regulators, all the qualification awarding institutions, or the professional bodies that play a role towards awarding of national qualifications, be it a foreign body or a local body. And ladies and gentlemen, we also know that it's a constitutional right that any processes must be subjected to public participation. And I want to believe that is one of the reasons why we are here. And also, as a country, we know we have a vision that we want to be globally competitive. And how do we reach there? Development of standards in education and training is one of the actors that will enable this country to be globally competitive in terms of qualifications and skill. And so, ladies and gentlemen, the next slide is about purposes of standards.
Dr. Burimo, can we intervene a little?
Yes, DG. It's okay.
The PS for vocational and technical training, Dr. Julius Chuan, has just joined us. I know that he was in another meeting, so maybe you can stop sharing your screen so that we welcome him to make some remarks. Then will allow us to continue. Welcome, Dr. Chuan. Okay. Dr. Chuan, do you?
Thank you very much, DG.
Karibu to this meeting, and I'll just make a few remarks, and then I'll just to bring you up to speed on what we are doing today, and then we'll allow you to make your remarks.
It's fine for me.
And because I also know that you have another meeting, then of course, so as a way of introduction, members, peers, today we have, as you can see, we have 72 participants in this workshop, and part of the job of the work of the Kenya National Qualifications Authority is to ensure that qualifications that are examined and awarded within the country meet the national standards. And in the past, we have many players that are assessing students in basic, in TVET, and also at the university and even foreign institutions. So we have not had a standard for the country for assessment of qualifications. So this is the first time. So everybody has been assessing mostly according to their own rules. I do know that within our regulators, TVETA, they have within their quality assurance mechanism some aspects of quality of standards of examinations have been done. Also at CUE, the Commission for University Education, where I also worked for some time, that we have elements of this. And so the purpose of this workshop is to try and bring all these rules and regulations and standards that are scattered, that cover some people and not cover others, under an umbrella of national standards for assessment of national qualifications. And because we have many players, as I have said, it means that everybody has been trying to use their own rules and their own system, and of course everybody is happy with that. But then internationally, the growing practice is that country sets rules and regulations and standards for assessment of qualifications, and it's expected then that anybody who wants to assess and award qualifications within the country meets those standards. And also, this is useful for purposes of internationalizing our education. As we internationalize, we would like our students go out, that we create confidence in our qualifications, that any qualifications that we have awarded were subject to national standards of this country. So in this workshop today, we have people from basic education, from TVET, from university sector, and as you can see, our quorum is 73 people, and we are expecting about 100. The number is still growing. So, sir, I want to welcome you so that you make your remarks, and then we can continue. Karibu.
Thank you. Thank you very much, DG, and thank you all for coming to attend the validation workshop. Greetings to Professor Kere, my teacher. I can see you there. I hope you are keeping safe. Thank you all. I think mine is very brief. First of all is to thank you for attending the meeting. Two is to thank the team that did this work. I think it is now very clear to all of us that the issue of standards in the context of competency-based education that we are trying to develop in the country is the way to go. I think this moves us away from people trying to compete against themselves so that we compete against standards. I'm also aware that there are standards that have been developed by TVETA and other agencies that relate to what has been done today. And again, these are results from what the TVET Act has. And I believe as we go along, we'll be trying to see how we can thin out and harmonize what we have to complement one another rather than to look like we are competing with one another. I think when we work together and complement one another, we will definitely go far. The other bit I wanted to mention is that I am aware again that KNQA has been surviving for a while now without the board. It's a matter that I have taken up since I came in. We have had very good discussions with the CS, and I'm aware that it is the Kenya it's been submitted for gazettement, and we are just waiting for a nod from those who we consult so that this can be done. This will help us validate a lot of work that is going on at KNQA. We don't take it for granted the good work that KNQA has done, despite the fact that they have not been having a functional board. I'm always excited about the qualification frameworks that 2 years ago Professor Kere presented to His Excellency the President when we were at Semester. I think it remains a critical benchmark. And in my latest engagements with other stakeholders, including 2 days ago when we had a meeting with the development partners, they were very clear that one thing that needs to come out very strongly from the Kenyan education system is that TVET be seen as a pathway, not as an alternative to other pathways. That it should be very clear that when somebody gets into technical education, they can go all the way to the university if they choose to, and make learning flexible so that at any given stage, somebody can branch off into the industry, engage with the industry, but get back to learning and proceed all the way. This is something that we'll be engaging Q, we'll be engaging COOPS as soon as things, Corona eases down, so that we can be very clear that somebody who has achieved certain benchmarks within the technical education, when they proceed to the university, we are very clear about the units that can be removed for them, or rather waived for them, and they proceed with their learning. The other component that I believe these standards have touched on is the issue of the engagement with the industry. I think this has come out very clearly, and I'm very happy with the work that is going on at CEDAC in terms of developing a CBET so that the industry has a very clear role to play in the curriculum, so that later it is not said that what we are teaching in our technical institutions do not meet the needs of the industry. I'm very happy to mention that we have received some very, very good equipments from partners on this, in agriculture value addition, in mechatronics, in computer numericals, and many others. And I think this will go directly into enhancing the training that we have in Tibet. And therefore, the standards that have been developed today definitely will go a long way, as already stated by the DG, in enhancing the acceptability of the training that we provide, so that our learners, or those who go through our system, can fit in any other system across the world. When we look at the Tibet sector in general, I must say that the government is very keen on the role that we are going to play in what we call COVID and post-COVID era. It's known that COVID is here with us, and it's also known that some of our technical institutions are producing equipment that are being used to help give the measures, safety measures in COVID. And I think with very good standards that are set, this will help us dealing with some of our technical institutions as production centers. Because it looks like this now becomes the norm. As production centers, it means they will be generating some little income that can also complement their A&A, and that will go a long way in alleviating the kind of resources that the government puts in these institutions. These are some of the issues that we'll be pursuing going forward. But in a nutshell, I want to thank you all for coming and appreciate the role that each of you has played and will play in moving TVET forward. We are developing a blueprint for the TVET sector for the next 10 years, supported by MasterCard. This is something that looks like has been missing in action, so that we are very clear that when somebody comes into TVET, it's very clear this is how they will move vertically up to the highest level, how they will interact with industry on a horizontal level, the role of each player who comes on board, and how it complements what is being done and not necessarily clashing, and most critically, how this then relates to the Big Four agenda and, of course, Vision 2030 and the development of this country. It also will bring out very clearly the role of the private sector, like the Juakali sector, the other players in the industry. And we hope when things start getting better soon, when this is completed, we'll have a big launch for it. And I believe this will go a long way in connecting what we are doing to competence-based curriculum, because it is very clear that the success of the competency-based curriculum depends on a vibrant, well-structured, and a well-thinking, if such an expression exists, a well-thinking TVET sector. It is expected that about 60% of learners who will go through CBC will find their way into technical institutions. And on that note, I want to thank you and allow me to declare the workshop officially launched. As the DG said earlier, we are in a PSS meeting. I just took leave so that I can open the workshop and wish you well. I believe what will come of this will further be looked at by the board once they are appointed and are given public. Thank you and blessings as you go through the validation.
Thank you. Thank you, PS. I hope you are still there. I wanted to ask Professor Kere maybe to just, on behalf of the KNQA, Professor Kere is our former chair. We don't have a chair, as you know. If we can just thank you on our behalf. Professor Kere.
Prof, you are muted. You need to unmute him.
Professor Kere, are you still there?
He's there, but he's muted. Can somebody unmute him?
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. Thank you. Buena PS, Dr. Thank you very much for your warm, welcoming speech. I'm delighted that you are very conversant with the entire system, and particularly the TVET area that you have come in. And I remember, yes, we presented with you to His Excellency at Samatse on the KNQA, the qualifications frameworks and the pathways. And I think it has been clear now to most of the Kenyans that our system has cleaned up. KNQA has helped to bring clarity and order in to see that pathways are open for our young people. People can take any route and go to the highest level of their achievement. What I often say is that it does not matter what grade one got actually at, for example, basic education level, but so long as they are willing and they are able, they can proceed to the highest level, that they wish to. And really, Buena PS, it's been long since the board, ceased, and we've been concerned about it. But I know that you are working hard. I know that even the CS has also made approvals. It's a question of time, but we are anxious, me and my board, ready to come back and jump into a full swing to validate whatever has been happening. And as you can see, Daktari, our CEO, with his able team, have done a fantastic job to keep the flame going and to lighten the area for the nation. Thank you for coming.
Sorry, just to make a comment. I know it's not good to talk after your teachers talked.
Thank you. Karibu.
Yes, I just needed to mention that we are aware that KNQA needs permanent staff. This is something I've discussed with the CEO. It is something I've discussed with the CS. And I know that is a weak area. And we believe as soon as the board gets a nod and gets on board, we'll need to have strong permanent staff for KNQA to allow them. Because I made it clear to my bosses that unless they get me the board and we get the staff for KNQA, they will be wanting me to work with my hands on my back, tied to my back, which is not very good. So if they want me to work, we have agreed this will move forward so that I'm able to implement what they want me to implement. So I'm aware, Prof. and Daktari, and I'm working on this. Thank you very much. I want to wish you now.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, PS. We really thank you for taking your time. I know you are in the PSS meeting. We really appreciate the support that we've gotten from you. And we know that with your leadership going forward, KNQA will become a strong and vibrant institution that will play its role as envisaged within the Kenyan law. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
Thank you, and bye to all.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
I would now like to invite members who will continue. I want now to invite Dr. Bulimo, who was making a presentation. Dr. Bulimo, you had already spent about 5 minutes, so you have 5 more minutes to make your presentation. Then we will open up this for discussion. Members, note that there is a public chat to this discussion. So if you have comments and issues, please use the chat on the left upper side. So the public chat is open, so not all of us will be able to speak. Please feel free to make your comments, write to us, because whatever we discuss today, whatever you write, will help us to improve this document. Dr. Bulimo, please continue.
Thank you, Daktari. I'll not go into the purpose. I believe this has already been spoken about by our DG and even the PS. I move straight away to the scope. These standards are speaking to qualification awarding institutions, assessment bodies, our regulators, as we said earlier, right from the regulators at basic, the ESCAC, TVETA, CUE, and the professional bodies, and even to foreign qualifications. Foreign qualifications here, we are talking about qualifiers who have done their studies in foreign countries, or even the qualification awarding institutions that are foreign. And straight away to the overview now of the specific standards. I'll not go into specifics, like I said earlier, there are 17, but I'll do an accumulative overview that we have standards talking about qualifications, awarding institutions, rather the assessment bodies. And here we are talking about awarding bodies have to seek accreditation, whether it's a local or a foreign qualification awarding institution. They have to be
Are your slides moving, Dr. Bulimo? You seem to be stuck to one slide. You're stuck to this one called purpose. Can you move your slides?
They're moving.
No, make it presentation mode. Sorry for my interjection.
Okay.
Yeah, get it to presentation mode.
Okay, where is that?
Something that looks like a glass in some place.
Presentation mode. They're not moving.
Actually, it is below your slide at the right-hand side. You can see
the slide.
Yes. Yeah, that one. Just click that one.
Are they moving now? They're not, the slides are not moving.
You are not yet on display mode. Click that trophy-like thing on your right.
The thing like a computer. You see where you have the percentages? Down there, you just click that one.
There you go.
Okay.
Still not yet, but anyway.
Still not yet. Is it moving now?
But just continue. Just continue. Can see you because of time.
Why is it not moving? Doctor, is it moving? Dr. Mwana?
I don't think you are in presentation mode yet. It's moving, but there's a lot of, okay. It's moving, so maybe because of time we can continue.
Okay.
But I don't think you are in the right mode to present.
She can also go to the top of the bar and go into slideshow.
Slideshow.
Yeah.
Why don't you go to slideshow?
Slideshow,
That's
and then go to the left. Then you go
and then start at the beginning, eh?
Left. At the beginning.
Then says, yeah.
Click on that one. Yes, click on that one.
Slideshow begin.
Now.
From current, go to the next one. From current slide. From current slide, that's the second one, which is below home. There. Click on that one.
So is it now moving?
It is. You are not yet in presentation mode for sure.
Dana, what is it? It's relying on your country. They are not. The slides are not.
Yeah, it is not in presentation mode.
Because what you are saying and what is being displayed are not the same.
We are able to see the slides. Therefore, you can just continue.
Okay, please continue.
I am also
thanks.
Just continue because of time.
Yeah, Dr. Kwandai, thanks.
I hope it's now moving. Sorry, I'm very sorry for that. So
let's keep going.
Yes, I was explaining that a qualification awarding institution or assessment body shall seek accreditation. And why are we accrediting this qualification awarding institution? You realize that the KNQA has developed minimum criteria, minimum standard, national standards that a body must meet before it's allowed to offer national qualifications. And therefore, the standards have guidelines towards accrediting all qualification awarding institutions in the country. And the accreditation takes 4 years. After 3 years, the body is required to seek reaccreditation. The process of reaccreditation is also outlined in the draft standards that we shared. And there is the aspect of recognizing and equating foreign qualifications. And we have also provided standards on how foreign qualification awarding institutions or how foreign acquired qualifications will be recognized as part of the national qualifications in our country. We have standards on registration of qualifications. Once a qualification awarding institution has been registered, all the qualifications that are under that institution are also supposed to be registered on the qualifications framework. Why are we doing this? We are all aware that we've been having cases of fraud, fake certificates and all that. But if we are looking forward for a situation where all qualifications are captured in a national qualifications framework, so that we weed out the fraud, the fake certificate, and all that. So if we have a process of assuring that the qualification awarding institution is standardized, it's harmonized, and it's transparent, then we shall meet the national standards and international standards of awarding qualifications. And what the standards are requiring us is to ensure that registration of these qualifications is done in accordance with the KNQA regulations, where I'm saying that we have the volume, we are looking at the volume of learning, the minimum entry requirements, the compliance with the industry and standards need. This makes the qualifications relevant. Remember, in our country, we've been having a challenge of we award qualifications that are not needed in the job market. But if this standard here we are, if the standard we are developing is validated and that is the standard we are applying, then it means that all the qualifications that we are awarding in our country are relevant to the industry, because even development of the very qualifications is informed by the occupational standards which comes from the industry. And just to move on, this has already been talked about by the earlier speakers. We are moving away from the scenario where we've been awarding qualifications and measuring acquisition of qualifications based on a normal curve. That students have been competing against one another. This has been creating an unnecessary competition, and at the end of it, we've not been able to achieve our goals as an education sector. But now, the standards are requiring that acquisition of knowledge, skills, and competencies shall only be measured through a criterion reference standards-based assessment, that we are measuring standards acquisition. We are not measuring who is number one, who is number two, who has scored 100. No, we are not only measuring knowledge, we are measuring both skills, knowledge, competency acquisition, but based on a certain preset criterion. And the same standards also are talking about the assessment types and methods, where we are saying the assessment shall be done in three phases. We have diagnostic, we have formative, and we have summative assessment. And these three types can take any approach. It can be assessed practically, you can have a written assessment, can have oral, project, research, and other forms as outlined in the guidelines. However, more important is to emphasize that any assessment method shall be based on expected learning outcomes. These learning outcomes are already set out in the occupational standards. They are already set out in the Kenya National Qualification framework. And we're also saying that any assessment process must be valid, must be reliable, must be flexible, it must be transparent. And what, in summary, we are saying that it must meet all the principles of assessment. The same document has standards on how to manage assessment. And the key, basically, we are looking at effective and efficient management of an assessment process. And to achieve this, the standards are talking about development of assessment policies by the qualification awarding institutions, development of assessment manuals, establishment of internal quality assurance mechanisms, and even the plans and calendars of assessment, among other things. And in the standards, you've seen that there are three major stages in assessment. We have pre-assessment planning, assessment administration, and post-assessment administration. And a qualification awarding institution, therefore, is required to ensure that they develop guidelines to assess all these three stages. And these guidelines should be anchored on the guidelines provided for in the draft assessment standards and guidelines document that KNQA has developed and has already shared with us. And as we develop this, we are keeping in mind that what we are doing should meet the national standards of assessment as guided by the draft and the Kenya National Qualifications Framework. And then we have also standard on assessment center. And this standard is important because you realize previously we've been having assessment being done in centers that probably some didn't have relevant equipment, some didn't have relevant assessment material, and so on. And this probably could lead to acquisition of substandard qualifications, qualifications that don't meet the national criteria, qualifications that don't meet international standards. But now we have a standard here on how an assessment center should look like and the role of regulator. They're not moving, sorry. The same draft also provides for standards of who an assessor and who a verifier is. But generally, we are saying that an assessor and a verifier should be someone who is competent and qualified and registered by either a regulator and an industry. And the guidelines go ahead to explain what this process entails. And why are we saying this? Because we've had cases where an assessor does not even meet a standard, does not understand what he or she is assessing, and yet is supposed to assess one and judge and conclude that this person is competent or not competent. So we have developed standards of who an assessor is and how the assessment should be done, and who a verifier is, who a supervisor is, and these standards are providing for assessor of level 1, level 2, up to an assessor at the university level, an assessor or a supervisor, an external examiner of a PhD student and all that. And to move on, I have very limited time. We also have standards on assessment instruments. And here, more importantly, the baseline, whatever here is that all assessment instruments must be aligned to occupational standards. Whatever we are assessing, whatever, if it's a question paper, whatever items we come up with should be responding to the occupational standards. We don't come up with instruments just because of, we must align our instruments to occupational standards. And the qualification awarding institution must also provide for how these instruments will be set, how they'll be moderated, how they'll be printed, and the entire process of developing an assessment instrument. And the next one, that we have a standard for marking and recording of results. And here I just want to point out one key aspect that we've had cases where student marks have gone missing, but now we've provided standards on how the marking process should be conducted, when to release the marks, when to share the marks with the qualification awarding institution, and how to award and how to record the marks. And we believe that if we did that, we shall minimize or do away with the cases of missing marks, and even, in layman's language, we can say cooking marks, that to ensure that scripts are marked, students have been assessed. And next, it's about declaration of assessment feedback. How do we declare the assessment after we have marked the student? So the document has developed standards on how to declare. That declaration of assessment feedback has to be valid, up to date, has to be reliable, and therefore the qualification awarding institutions must establish mechanisms of ensuring that this declaration is valid, it is authentic, and it's consistent. And for instance, we've had cases whereby a student has been assessed, but it's not indicated in the transcript. I want to maybe pick an example of at a higher level. You have done your PhD or your master's, you've completed, but in your transcript, it's not indicated whether you scored whatever you scored during research in your PhD. So the standards provides for this, and the same standards also provides for, if you're not satisfied with the whatever feedback you've been given, you can appeal for reassessment. So there is the appeal system which the qualification awarding institution is required to put in place. And then on grading, certification, on grading and certification, the most important thing here for me to mention is that previously we've been having varied grading systems. Every institution, every qualification awarding institution has its own grading system. And you find that in terms of progression, or let me give an example of, you want to transfer credits from level 6, which is a diploma, to level 7, which is a degree level. How do you transfer when the grading system is quite varied? So the standards provides for a grading system per level of learning and training. This is to harmonize the grading system, to make the system of assessment more flexible, that it allows for ease of progression from one level to another. And still under certification, the standards are calling for transparency and accountability. I've earlier on mentioned that students have missed marks previously. But now there is a process that the standards is talking about, that this is the process up to certification, that no qualification awarding body will say that we don't have marks for you. You have to account for marks for all the students who sat for examinations accordingly. And Still on grading and certification, there has been an issue of withholding certificates. So the standards require that once an assessment body has awarded a certificate, an assessment center or a training institution has no rights to withhold that certificate. The details of these are in the standards. And finally, we are saying that all certificates that have been awarded shall be uploaded to the Kenya National Qualifications Authority National Learners Record Database. And as explained earlier, this database will contain information of all the students, all the qualifiers, all the awarding institutions, and all the other details regarding qualifications awarding. And that means if an employer wants information about me as a qualifier, you need to come to KNQA and you just click a button and the database will give you all my details right from basic education to higher education. Ladies and gentlemen, the last slide is about providing for candidates with special needs. Currently, we know, we are aware that we are focusing on equity, on fairness, and all assessment processes must take consideration of special needs. Whether you have them or you don't have them, there has to be some consideration. We always say that naturally you don't know when this will come, and therefore when you are planning for assessment, you put in mind that in case of anything, this is what I should do. But if we already have students with special needs, which we have, you have to provide for them according to the standard. And then the last slide is in quality assurance and qualifications awarding system. This system, right from the setting, the administration, the awarding and the certifications has to be quality assured. And from the mandate of KNQA, this requires that we develop a quality assurance policy to guide the awarding system. Same goes to the regulators of the entire level, the basic, TVET, the universities. You have to ensure that the process is quality assured, and it is both internal quality assurance and external quality assurance. With that, I want to thank you very much for listening. I'm sorry the slides failed me, but I want to thank you for participating in shaping the future of Kenya. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bulimo. Thank you. Now your last slide comes. I was stuck on slide 8. I don't know what happened. They never moved on my side. But nonetheless, we have listened to you. I think we have heard what is happening. As Dr. Bulimo has said, and as the peers said, as you realize, a lot of what we are talking about is assessment and qualification awarding institutions. And in doing this, the main aim is to try and make sure that we have quality qualifications that will drive the Kenyan economy. And so I can see on the public chat that there is quite some lots of information coming there. As I said, not all of us may be able to speak, but when you go to the public chat, you can always put your questions, your concerns, your issues there, and I already see some of you are there, so please continue doing it there. I now want to invite, let me invite Dr. Kwandai from SIDAC to just make a remark.
Okay, thanks a lot, DG, and all the guests in this validation workshop. I'm happy to observe what is captured in the standards, and this will go a long way really to harmonize all the qualifications in this country. However, there are various items maybe or issues which maybe various stakeholders may be looking at, especially all the other areas. It's quite okay, especially on the national grading system. In the national grading system, if you look at the standard number 15, you can see there is what you're calling grading system for competency-based assessment. That is number 3. We find there is grade A and B, C, and D, and E. And you find that A is exceeds expectation, B meets expectation, but they are all categorized as if they are competent. But you see, D and E, it's indicated below expectation. E is also indicated below expectation. But if you refer to the standard and the TVETA, still D and E, you indicated as if you are not yet competent, but D is allowed to go and work. Therefore, there is need to harmonize and to look at what we need when we are talking of mastery, proficient, competent, very competent, and not yet competent. So that really. The other thing is on the grading system, DG. I can see you're using GPA. I was asking why can't we just use the credit factors and the specific percentages so that we arrive at the final score. However, hello, somebody is talking? I don't know. Hello, DG.
There is somebody who is on the phone.
Hello. Yes, what I was saying is that DG, there is need to harmonize a number of standards with the other regulatory bodies like TVETA and the Q, so that this document talks, in other words, they talk together, they give out the same product, they give out the same result, so that there may be a bit of an agreement here. Thanks, but so far, this document, as our first draft, or even what need to be validated, if slightly improved, it can go a long way in helping the people of this country and help us in harmonizing the various qualifications.
Thank you, Dr. Kwandai. I note the fact that we really need to harmonize what is happening here with the various regulators. I know Dr. Langat is here. I'm going to give him an opportunity to speak. Let me listen to Lynette Kisaka from CUE.
Thank you, DG and everyone. Good morning. Yeah, well, I looked at the draft and I must compliment the team for what they have put together. Let's call it a starting point so that we can interact on it and then probably come out strongly together as we have been advised. But my quick observation was that we needed more to make these standards and guidelines to which the qualifications awarding institutions can aspire and the assessment bodies can aspire, so that if I am a qualification awarding institution, I know that if I meet A, B, C, and D, then the qualifications I award will pass the test. Or if I am an assessment body and I conduct the assessment in A, B, C, D ways, then my assessment will pass the test. Yeah, that we need to really, still strengthen, because in a way we are tilted more towards almost an operating procedure, how we will accept them, but we are not quite telling them what to do so that we can accept them. And I think this is something, a conversation we can continue. At least the team has given us something over which we can apply our minds. Thank you, DG.
Thanks for those quick remarks. I wanted to invite Dr. Langat, TVETA.
Okay, thank you, DG, for this opportunity, and let me join the rest of the speakers. First, in congratulating the KNQA for coming up with this draft document that is going to guide us in the conversation that is going to go forward. And second is to appreciate what has gone on in developing this document, despite the challenges that we currently have in the country, that we are able to have this meeting. And also to thank everyone who has joined in this meeting. I want to pick up from what the PS mentioned in the beginning, that we want to have a complementary approach towards developing some of this document so that we give the country a right direction in terms of what they want to follow in getting the national qualification, which meet the international standards. So I think harmonization is the key thing in coming up with a process that leads to getting qualification that you can trace it back right from entry point, how the quality assurance processes were undertaken, the approval of curriculum and or programs and the rest, all the way to certification. And therefore, if you look at the spirit and the letter of the drafting of the KNQA, is that it is appreciating the existence of different subsectors, that is the basic, the TVET, and the university. And because each subsector has a legal framework guiding, then the starting point of KNQA is to develop a process or a framework that should be able to bring the three or more regulatory framework speaking into one document that will lead the country. And therefore, the structure of it is to have KNQA probably review what is already existing, as mentioned by Dr. Kwantai and Lynette, that you find that the regulators have already developed certain standards and procedures which are more of operational, because they work together with the institution in terms of the implementation of the training programs all the way to certification before qualification. And thirdly is really to understand what is it that we are looking at when we are talking of national qualifications, because there's a very big difference between programs or curriculums and national qualifications, because a qualification must be tied to an individual, so that when we are talking of registering qualification, it's actually by per se registering individuals who have gone through a training and obtain a qualification. So that, for example, if you are going to register, let's say, 10,000 qualification of Bachelor of Commerce, it is not the curriculum that has already been developed, but they are the people who have gone through that training and qualify, so that we are able to tell the country at what level are we in terms of the human resource that we have developed. So that if we are able to understand that and differentiate it, then your processes should work towards getting those people who have gone through a training system and they have been assessed and they have been qualified, and that now that you can have that database. And then finally is, if you look at the processes as mentioned by Lynette, it is more of operational, but I think KNQA can provide us with more of a coordination and how such operational issues are achieved. A qualification, if you look at it, especially when you are looking at the awarding institution, the institution actually award together with the training providers, either being a university or a TVET college or an institution in basic. The training takes place at that institutions, and all the quality assurance processes happen at that institution, and these are done between the training providers and the specific regulators, even the professional bodies, those who award qualification. You find that they still work together with the training institutions, and therefore the operations that take place at the training institution level contribute a lot towards achieving this national qualification. So I think it's a conversation that we can still pick it forward, but I can say it is a right start, because without a document like this, you don't know whether you have done it right or there's some gaps. But I believe after going through all the validation processes and engaging more stakeholders, we are going to come up with a very good document that will guide the qualification of this country. So thank you, DG.
Thank you, DG, Dr. Kiprui Langat, the DG of TVETA, and I also want to confirm that we have already received your written comments on the document, which we will incorporate as we improve this document. I want to ask my brother from CASNEP. I don't know if Dr. Leting is here or somebody else from CASNEP. Please give us brief remarks, and then we are going to end by Mr. Stanley Maindi giving us a summary of what we have discussed today. CASNEP, and then I'll be asking Bruno Pex from AHK to give us a little bit from the German experience. Do we still have the CASNEP team here? I thought I saw some people logging in.
Jiro,
yes, introduce yourself.
In the house.
Please proceed. Okay, while we are waiting, Dr. Kateru from Riara University, are you there?
Yes, I am, DG, and I hope you can hear me. Yes, I'm very happy to join in, and I must say also, as has been said by other colleagues, that this is a very good start. My only suggestion is that, and I had put a few comments on the public chat, is that we need to really see how to harmonize these standards with the existing standards, whether it's university standards or others, to avoid potential conflicts between the regulators, because there have been cases where institutions have found themselves in between two regulators with two different positions. So if we look at the end result being to facilitate smooth running of institutions and smooth progression of learners, then it is possible for the regulators in the House today and others who are not here to really look for a way of harmonizing the various sections. So I don't want to say so much else, but the other thing is that because these regulation standards are for very different kind of institutions, it will be good not to be too prescriptive. In some areas, I've seen like the prescription is too high. A case in point is where we say that upon an examination, the marking should start within 7 days. There could be cases where institutions have different arrangements with students and the students are happy. So if there's a way we can accommodate the various scenarios, considering also the independence of some of the institutions, I think that would be very good. Some of the other comments I've put already in the chat. In the interest of time, I don't want to go too much to them, but I really want to thank KNQA for bringing us together, even in the midst of COVID-19. And I hope that you'll also give time after the meeting, maybe a week or whatever time, for people to still submit written submissions in case we don't capture all of them today. Thank you, DG.
Thanks, Dr. Kateru. Yes, those are very important points that you raised. One is that, as you are aware, the KNQA on its board, we have representatives of the TVETA. We also have representatives of basic education and the Commission for University Education. And I think in the wisdom of those who made the KNQF Act, it was important that the work that we do, because the role of the KNQA really is a coordinating mechanism within the sector. And the more day-to-day interactions and regulations and between institutions, is between institutions and the regulators of those sectors. So we will really respect that. The document that we are discussing is available on the KNQA website, so feel free to read through And yes, we welcome comments in the next 10 days, and we'll be putting together a small panel, and then we'll look at all the comments and come up with a document that is acceptable to all of us. And as I've also indicated, that because Commission for University Education is represented within our board, just like TVETA and the basic education, that will make sure that through that, the committees, the technical committees of the board, when they are put together, and the board itself will make sure that the regulations and the coordinating mechanisms that we are putting in place do not contradict what is already existing, because that is very, very important for the harmony and the smooth transition of our students. Is Kasnep still here?
Hello, DG. The DG Nita is in the house. DG Nita.
Stephen Okenga, please, for quite often, sorry, Steve, let me apologize. Every time we discuss, we talk basic TVET and university, we quite often forget industrial training. That is actually our fourth leg. Sorry about that, Steve. Steve, make comments, please.
So, sorry, DG, can you turn on your camera? It's nice if we see you as you speak to us.
Thank you very much. I don't know. DG Ogenga is not, I'm not seeing him, but I can make a comment on his behalf, unless if he's there. My name is William Mwanza. I'm the Acting Director, Industrial Training, and there are a few comments that I'd like to make. Essentially, we appreciate the effort of the Kenya National Qualifications Authority in coming up with the standards. Actually, they are long overdue, and we appreciate very much, because they'll give us an ample opportunity to offer qualifications which are acceptable by all. There are a few things that we have gone through the document. We find it appropriate, but there are a few comments that we'd like to make, which we are going to forward. And we feel that possibly the standards did not take into consideration industrial training, more so trade testing, and the national skills certificates, and of course the RPL. Because there are areas where we feel that might not be catered for by this area. So we're asking that we can be allowed to present a memorandum on how we propose the assessment and certification of trade test and RPL can be conducted. I hope that will be allowed. Then looking at it, we also find that the skill subsector, which is one of the sub-framework, will require to review to provide for the national skill certificate across the 7 levels. That is from level 2 to level 8, as previously discussed by the Kenya National Qualifications Authority, sometimes early before the COVID shutdown. So the same will have to include in the memorandum, which we'll be presenting within the next, before the end of the expiry of the 10 days. So we hope with that, then we can be able to get a more acceptable standards. As indicated earlier, these standards cut across all the sub-frameworks. So it means it should be able to be responsive. Like I can see in the guidelines of registration of accreditation of institutions, it is indicated that you should be able, the awarding body should be able to give all the training institutions training that particular course. But that one might not be true for, let's say, the Juakali sector or the people who are training in industry. I don't know how we are going to go about that. So we should be able to standardize and harmonize and look at ways in which we fill in the gaps that might be there. Otherwise, we appreciate and we feel this is a good job. Well done. Thank you, DJ.
Thanks, Mansia. I think the thanks for bringing the perspective of NITA and industrial training and trade testing. Yes, I think that we would be happy to get your comments as we go forward in terms of how this document can be more responsive in the area of industrial training and skill testing and, of course, trade tests. And that is very well appreciated. Thank you so much. I saw Professor Wambalaba had his hand up. Professor Wambalaba from USIU. Is Professor Wambalaba still there? Okay, let's listen to Bruno from.
Yes, I'm there.
Yes. Okay,
Hello?
please make brief remarks. Yes.
Yeah, no, I think I had raised my hand, but lowered it after the last speaker because I was concerned that the process should not be hijacked by the higher level institutions of learning because of the TVET and universities. So to ensure that there is a voice across board, and I'm glad that it has just been raised.
Prof, I think Bruno will make comments if he's there. Bruno, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Proceed.
Okay, great. Thank you, Juma. Thank you very much for inviting me and for giving me the opportunity to talk to you. And good morning to everyone. Of course, I can only talk or speak about the vocational training system because this is my favorite thing. And let me tell you something. We are just in the process. We are working together with CDAC in developing curricula and assessment for these 3 centers of excellence that have been inaugurated by the German and the Kenyan president a few weeks ago. These centers of excellence are focusing on car mechatronics, and bodybuilding and welding. So the curriculum is developed in cooperation with us and some other stakeholders by CDAC, and we are cooperating with CDAC in development of the assessment for these 3 curricula or these 3 professions. So my point of view has always been and will always be that it is mandatory, that is really important to involve the private sector in assessment. So our method in assessment or in examination is we have an examination board or a board of assessors that consists mainly of industry players, workers from industry, 1 from the training institutes or the schools or whatever, 1/3, but 2/3 have to be from industry. Because we think if you train someone for a profession and you have to assess his skills, then who can do this better than the companies who have to or who will hire these guys later. So we are always keen on the involvement of industry in the assessment process and in the assessment itself, in developing assessment tasks, examination tasks, and so on. Yes, that's what we are just doing, which we cooperate in this with CDAC, and I think we will find a way where both of our system can be combined and bring a really good result for internationally qualified Kenyan graduates. Thank you, Juma. Over to you.
Okay, thanks, Bruno, for bringing the aspect of involvement of the private sector in assessment of qualifications. I think Germany has a lot of experience in that area, and we will be working with your team to really see how the aspects of private sector involvement in assessment can be captured within this document. As you can see, we are 8 minutes away from the end of this workshop, so we are doing well. And we nearly have 100 people in the house, so which means this is a really area that is of good interest. I am not sure if Kasnep is still here because I want to ask Maindi to give us a summary of what we have discussed, and then I will ask Professor Kere to close this workshop. Okay, so I assume that Kasnep is not here. So any other person that would like to speak, if you carry up your hand, I hope you know where to click to carry up your hand. Yes, Powell, please, Ocheng, proceed.
Thank you, Bwana DG. A lot of congratulations to you and your team for putting this together. This is really important, and the fact that Kenya has moved a step forward towards ensuring that qualifications obtained or rather attained in the country also can compare competitively with other qualifications globally is an achievement that is worth appreciating. I realize that as we build onto these qualification standards, there are certain things that are still a little confusing that for us, we have raised this matter not once. I'm speaking on behalf of Aga Khan University. We have realized that the qualifications framework does not have higher diploma as a qualification in Kenya. But certain institutions are still offering higher diploma. So where is the problem? We had to stop offering a diploma, and this was actually a specialized diploma, because of the conflict that we are seeing between your strategic plan, which actually defines a higher diploma as a qualification in Kenya, and the qualifications framework document that is in the public domain. So would you please shed some light on this and let us hear what KNQA is doing to resolve this matter? NCK is offering higher diploma, MTRH is offering higher diploma, and this is pretty confusing. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul from Aga Khan University. Within the framework, because we have people that exist within the higher national diplomas, the higher national diploma has been placed at level 7, which is an equivalent of a bachelor's degree. Although when you look at the level descriptors, these have not been worked out. So this is something that we are discussing internally, and we should be able to provide a solution, because even from the medical profession, we have seen that we still have a lot of people that are still interested in offering higher national diplomas. But maybe let me ask Professor Kere if he has a comment on this, or Dr. Langat.
Unmute. Prof, unmute. We can't hear you.
Okay, I think you can hear me now.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Now, when we developed the pathways, we were cognizant of the fact that Kenya, like many other Commonwealth countries, had actually suffered from the higher national diploma, what I refer to as a qualification that was actually in between the diploma and the degree. And because of the white collar preferences, many people who had the higher national diplomas were regarded as equivalent to a degree, but not quite a degree. Whereas here in Kenya, someone with a higher national diploma would not be equated to that of a bachelor's degree, because if they wanted, for example, to proceed with further education and training, they would have to go back maybe 2 or 3 years down in the bachelor's degree program to uplift themselves. But in the UK, where they recognize the higher national diploma, individuals with that qualification immediately went to master's degree. And you realize that historically, later on, even in the UK, which was the beginning of the higher national diplomas, they got rid of the national polytechnics, which were granting those diplomas, and actually they became technological universities. The same was done in South Africa, where the technicons, which offered those higher national diplomas, became technical universities, so that to avoid the punishment of individuals who went through, because if to get a degree in the old system, you needed to do 3 years to get your diploma, then go in and do 2 years, get your higher national diploma. Those are 5 years. And if you wanted to pursue a bachelor's degree, then you will go and start in the 2nd year or the 3rd year. Take another 3. So it will take 8 years before they'll be regarded as having reached that level of the bachelor's degree. And that's why in our system, we said we'll discourage that, but we recognize the people who already had these diplomas. They will be recognized in there, but we'll phase it out to stop, punishing individuals who went through the route of diplomas, before they get to their degrees. As we are discussing even today, just imagine in a place like in the United States of America, they have community colleges. Individuals who go and take 2 years in the community colleges, when they want to proceed to a degree program, they will go into the degree program, which is a 4-year program, and take another 2 years. They get their degree. And yet, in some of our developing countries, like in Africa especially, these individuals are regarded as nothing. They as if they have never been to any higher institution of learning. They have to start afresh, which has always been an embarrassment, but I think that this should be taken care of. And that's why we are saying, let us accept and recognize not those already who have, but for our youth who are coming through the systems, so long as we can now harmonize and have this standard, someone who has had a diploma, if they move on to a degree program, they should not be condemned to start, if they are from a technical institution that they are competent in drafting, that when they go to a degree program, they are taught the basics like drawing lines and using pencils, etc. That's what motivated us to look into this area and bring harmonization into it. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Professor Kere. I think let's just say that is a fact that we are still discussing, and we'll be coming back to you.
Lichi, let me also say
ideas in terms of our time is up. As you can see, we are past the hour, and Powell, we've noted your concerns. I saw Juguna from Kasneb joined us. Juguna, are you still here? Juguna? Okay. On that note, then I want to invite Stanley Maindi to give us a short summary, and then I'll ask Professor Kere to close.
Thank you very much, Dr. for that well done job. You have guided us very well. Ladies and gentlemen, this workshop has had a very impressive representation of over 116 participants, which is very impressive considering this era of COVID that we are operating in. One thing that we have noted is that all the participants unanimously agreed that this has been a step in the right direction, and it has been long overdue. It is has been in an era where the education and qualifications are being internationalized. All nations are working towards coordination, harmonization of their education systems for achieving internationalization. And the spirit of this workshop was captured by a chart from Dr. Jacqueline Okello Alari, who said that the understanding of this workshop and deliberations based on understanding the operational framework and specific functions of the Kenya National Qualifications Authority. One other key issue was noted by Dr. Gateru, who pointed out that the spirit and the success of this lies in the role of the KNQA, which is to provide policy direction at national level
to offer coordination and harmonization of the education and training sector in the country that has been fragmented for so long and had affected the quality of the qualifications that we have been offering. Finally, we have had unanimous agreement that this workshop has served as a platform to start further discussions, further deliberations, and inputs so that the document is made very inclusive and covers all the sectors of education. We have also noted that this has been one of the most well-attended workshop that covered all the sectors of education from basic TVET sector and university, and of course we have had the industrial sector that has been here. We have had industrialists present here, and we have received their inputs. This has also been heavily attended by academia, especially the higher learning institutions in the country. We thank you very much because we had very opening remarks that were encouraging from our peers, and incoming remarks from the outgoing chair, who has a very rich history in the education and training sector in Kenya. Thank you very much, DG.
Thank you, Stanley. I want to invite Professor Kere to close, but before I do that, sorry, I forgot. I have my brother here, Tom Mulati. Tom Mulati is the Director of Technical Education. Please, let's hear your voice, Tom.
Thank you, Chair. Allow me to say that I'm sorry that I had to join late because of some technicality. Otherwise, I'm grateful to the host, Kenya National Qualification Authority, and all participants for their input. These are issues which are urgent, and it is good that we are rolling them out so that they are being laid bare so that we can get inputs and be able to run. And therefore, the rolling out of these time that's out of there. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Tom, and we are grateful for that input. On this note, ladies and gentlemen, I now want to invite Professor Bonaventure Kere to make his closing remarks.
Thank you very much, DG and the participants. As we look at Africa's Agenda 2063 in tandem with the UNESCO World Education Report, Education 2030, and also drawing from our national sessional papers, for example, paper 1, sessional paper 1 of 2005, and paper 1 of 2019, KNQA has taken its mandate and lead position to establish the national standards and guidelines discussed in this meeting. And I'm indeed grateful to the responses that we have had from the participants, this well-attended meeting. These standards and guidelines will be pivotal in the assessment of our national qualifications. I wish, therefore, to take this opportunity to thank every one of you for your involvement and contributions, and welcome further discussions and recommendations beyond this meeting. I'm glad to note that people are making, submissions. This is just that important forum that we always longed for, to bring the stakeholders together. And I'm glad, I'm happy to be reminded, we often forget the industrial training sector, which is actually the fourth leg of the of KNQA. What we are doing is actually harmonizing our qualifications And I think what is important for members to know in this forum is that we have, yes, qualifications, we have awarding institutions, and we have training institutions. And anyone, any of those can offer qualifications. They can, in fact, offer qualification on how to tame a lion, or how to prepare the most wonderful soup out of whatever vegetation they wish. But what we are saying here, we are talking about a national qualification. When we say it is national, it means that we in Kenya as a team, that is the team of the 4 important sectors where our youth go through: basic education, middle-level institutions, TVET, the universities, and also industrial training, that we are agreed that whatever we do, we are cognizant of the specializations and we recognize them, and where we agree together as a team that yes, this is what we want, then that becomes a national qualification. But remember, there could be other qualifications which may not be national, but specific to institutions. But then those will be institutional ones. But we are talking here about national qualifications, as we see, because this is a worldwide movement. Each country has a national qualifications framework that actually harmonizes and brings together all these qualifications. Therefore, let me take this opportunity to again to thank our CEO, Dr. Muhwana, and his very able team for the exemplary work that they have done, notwithstanding the difficult situation of COVID-19 in which we are. It is therefore, ladies and gentlemen, my pleasure to declare this workshop closed. Thank you, and God bless all.
Thank you. We'll get thank you, Professor. We'll get a closing prayer from Frank Mukuna. Frank.
Thank you, Bonadiji. Let's bow down for a word of prayer. Heavenly loving Father, in thine precious holy living name, Jesus Christ, we thank you, Holy Father, for this far you've taken us, oh God. Lord, we've been having a validation workshop for our national standards, which was opened by our dear peers, Dr. Juan. Lord, we thank you for all the participants led by our DG, our former chair, Dr. Bonventure, and all the members that have been able to take part in this. Lord, our desire is one. Dear God, we need to push this nation to the next level. And Father, we cannot do that if we can't bring in standards that will be able to make us benchmark ourselves on the same. Father, we pray as we have validated this document, may you help us to move to the next level, even to incorporate the views of the validators and participants in this particular workshop, that we may better this document going forward. So thank you. Thank you for all the participants. Thank you for the guidance. Thank you for all the bodies that have been able, Lord Jesus, to participate in this. Let us complement one another, work together, going forward, because we need to, loving Father, consider our children who are to benefit from this particular document. We thank you, bless you. Bless every one of us, wherever we've been. Help us, my Father. Bless this nation, dear God. Bless the leadership of our Ministry of Education. Bless the leadership of this nation. Lord, we commit ourselves unto thee. We pray in the name of the Lord. May you stop this pandemic, that, Father, our lives may come back to normal, and we'll continue praising and glorifying your name. We bless you, we thank you, as we commit all things unto thee, in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. And members, thank you. And on that note, our workshop is ended, and wish you a blessed day. Goodbye.
Bye.